Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we will get started as, and people will continue to join. But for the sake of time, I want to keep this on time for us tonight. And first of all, I just wanted to thank you for joining us this evening. Again, my name is Leslie Arroyo, and I'm the Communications Director for the City of South San Francisco. And I will be the moderator for tonight's Business Town Hall, which is a joint collaboration between the city and the South San Francisco Chamber of Commerce. I first just wanted to describe how tonight's meeting will go. Now, first of all of the lines are muted, and that's just simply because of the technology, and for such a large phone call to occur, it's hard to make this a productive call when we have all the lines live. So we did have people send in questions ahead of time, and we will get to those questions in just a bit. But if you do have questions tonight during this town hall, you can either email bizresources@ssf.net, which is it's BIZ resources@ssf.net. You can email that. We've got people monitoring that email during this call. We will address your email. If you happen to be joining this call via your computer, there's a chat function on your computer, and you could submit a question that way, and we will also address it as well. If after this call a question does come up, please don't hesitate to email us again at the bizresources@ssf.net, and we will respond to your email. And then again, all the questions that do come in tonight, along with tonight's audio recording, we will post to our website, and that will be at ssf.net/bizresources, BIZ resources. So for those of you that are on the line, I'm going to ask you to mute your phone if you happen to be live, just so we can ensure that we can hear our speakers. So we do have a few speakers for tonight's town hall. First, we're going to have our South San Francisco Mayor, Rich Garbarino, and then also we have the CEO of the South San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, Liza Normandy. In addition, we have Roseanne Faust, the CEO of SAMCETA, which stands for San Mateo County Economic Development Association. We will also have our city manager, Mike Futrell, say a few words. Ernesto Lucero, who is with the city's Economic and Community Development Department. And lastly, we have Noah Brode, who is with the Small Business Administration. All of these folks will provide you with an update from the last time we held a business town hall, which was a little more than 2 weeks ago.
That's going to be
Everyone has had a chance to provide an update. We will then open questions from the group.
Okay.
If you have a specific question for one of our speakers, please include that in the chat comment if you're directing your question to a particular person, or in the email. So again, you can send us an email at bizresources@ssf.net. So with that, I'd like to invite Mayor Rich Garbarino to say a few words.
Thank you, Leslie. And thank you, Roseanne, Liza, and Noah for joining us this evening. I want to thank all of our South City businesses who are listening in tonight. We know your businesses have been hit very hard by COVID-19 and the accompanying shelter-in-place orders. The situation is obviously very critical, and you are looking for any resources or information that can help keep your business open and alive during these tough times. Please know that we are here for you, and you have the city staff that are solely dedicated to focusing on business recovery. I will keep my remarks short so that you can hear directly from the technical experts. But before I turn it over, I do want to say one more time, on behalf of all of us at City Hall, we remain very concerned about you and your businesses, and we will continue to do everything we can at the local level to connect you with the information and resources to help support your business from now until we make it together through the end of the current pandemic.
All right, great. Thank you, Mayor Garbarino. Now I would like to turn it over to Liza Normandy, who is the CEO of the South San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, to say a few words. Liza?
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Mayor Garbarino. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that we have with us tonight Chamber President Jim McGuire and our board of directors. Even though I can't see you, I know you're with us. Thank you to the City of South San Francisco for the coordination of this call and panel, For our Chamber members and those South San Francisco businesses, the Chamber of Commerce is committed more than ever to provide you support and resources from all levels, city, county, and state, through partnership and collaboration. And this town hall is a prime example of us coming together. Tonight, you'll have the opportunity to hear from SBA, SAMCITA, the city, and the Chamber on how we can best support you and your business here in South City. And as Mayor Garbarino mentioned, for the sake of time and questions submitted, if you are interested in hearing about our Chamber outreach or have an idea, please send a question to the email address that Leslie had mentioned.
Okay, great. Thank you, Liza. We appreciate you being on the call and partnering with us. Now I would like to introduce Roseanne Faust, who is the CEO of SAMCITA, and she has an update for you. And while Roseanne is introducing herself, we're going to switch over to some slides that she provided us.
Thank you very much, Mayor Garbarino, City Manager Futrell, the City South San Francisco team, all the great staff, Liza, Normandy with the South San Francisco Chamber. It's really a pleasure to join all of you this evening, and I'm going to quickly go through slides. So SAMCITA has been attached to the County of San Mateo's Emergency Operations Center as the business lead for our 21 different jurisdictions since early March. And we have been gathering a plethora of resources for you. And I want to thank the Chamber and the city for actually putting out a lot of the resources that we've gathered, for adding to them, for just making this process a very collaborative and collegial effort, because we really care about all your businesses. So moving on to the first slide, I want to talk about our business supporting the county's efforts. So samcita.org, our business economic impact survey. If you have not taken it yet, it's a very simple 14-question SurveyMonkey survey that then is distributed to the city and the chamber to actually handle the frontline outreach to all of you. It's available on our website. We also facilitated the design, development, and launch of the San Mateo County Strong Fund. And I want to tell you more about that. And then our information sharing with our chambers of commerce. We were on a call earlier today with our partners at the chamber, with our Convention and Visitors Bureau, with Thrive, our Association of Nonprofits, and Sustainable San Mateo County. So moving on to the next slide, one of the things that SAMCITA first did was create what we call a business continuity action plan. It's in its 4th iteration that we hope to publish tomorrow. It actually tries to help a business level set itself during this situation by having you go through a series of questions concerning what have you done for yourself and your business in the short term, and then it's 3 pages of resources from an HR, a legal, a technical, a financial assistance. So there's a ton of information there. I really encourage you to have a look at it. Then moving on to the next slide, specifically the San Mateo County Strong Fund. So back in mid-March, the Silicon Valley Community Foundation set up a 10-county COVID-19 resiliency fund. San Mateo County wanted to set up within that structure its own San Mateo County Strong Fund. And so that way, all the money coming into the San Mateo County Strong Fund would support our nonprofits, our residents, our individuals, our families, and our small business. And what you have on this slide is an overview of the donations received to the Silicon Valley Community Foundation San Mateo County Strong Fund. We have individual donations, 724 unique donors, up to 270, basically $78,000 roughly for that. Plus we have pledges. So South San Francisco companies, Amgen and Genentech have contributed over $300,000, AT&T $20,000, our Chamber of Commerce organization $4,000, Google $50,000, Millbrae Community Foundation $10,000, and the donations go on. There's an additional $1.2 million in the Community Foundation in the Resilient COVID-19, which we are determining what bucket that money will fall into. But there is a big push right now for the small business community. And if we move to the next slide, I can tell you how that process has been developed. Actually, the next slide talks about San Mateo County Strong Fund, a city update. And different cities have pledged different amounts. South San Francisco is doing it through Community Development Block Grants, and I'm sure they'll share more information later. But moving to the next slide, I'd like to touch on the marketing and awareness campaign. So how this has been shored up is there wasn't the mechanism in the Silicon Valley Community Foundation to do direct grants, cash grants to small business. So the county, in coordination with SAMCETA and the San Mateo Credit Union, have built, actually over the last 2 weeks, an online application platform that will allow businesses to go in. This has to go before the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors next Tuesday. The recommended criteria, the legal agreement between the credit union and the county to be able to do this. So that all is expected, hopefully, to be approved by the Board of Supervisors next Tuesday. The subcommittee of the supervisors have already seen it. And then from Tuesday, we will be doing a heavy information campaign, very intensive, reaching out to South San Francisco and our other 19 cities, plus the county, to actually get out all the information. The application will be in English, Spanish, and Chinese. And then we are going to ask if there's other languages that are used in your community, if the cities can work with folks to make sure that the languages are covered. It'll be social media out there. And then the online application is recommended to open on Monday, April 27th. It will be cash grants up to $10,000 to help small businesses. Those that are excluded are 501c3, which are charity, sole proprietors, and self-employed individuals. And it's because those groups of folks are able to access other financial relief programs. Mayor Garbarino has actually been reaching out, and I want to thank him very much, as have other elected officials, raising donations for this, because there is an initial $1 million from the County of San Mateo that is going to be spread across the 21 different jurisdictions. We are recommending that the allocation be made on a population base. So there'll be more information as of Tuesday when the Board of Supervisors votes on this, but you are going to see this everywhere. It will be on smcstrong.org. The application will be available on samceta.org. I'm sure the city and the chamber will have it on their website, so we are going to push this out. If we move to the next slide, please. Federal financial assistance program. So my counterpart at SBA, Noah, will be talking more about both the EIDL loans, the Paycheck Protection Program, and what's available regarding that at this point, and also a second round of stimulus that we hope will be coming from the federal government. But we also put up here for federal financial assistance. This is your stimulus payment that the IRS is making to those who filed taxes in the previous year. There are links to find out where your stimulus payment has landed. And if you did not file taxes, there is instructions on how to actually access those funds. So moving on to the next slide. The state pandemic unemployment assistance. So there has been a real concern for business owners, self-employed, independent contractors who have limited work history, and they're not usually eligible for regular state unemployment insurance benefits. So the state of California is working right now to set up an application process for folks that fall into those categories where they can receive funds. It's called the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. It is not online yet because, again, they're building it from the ground up, but more to come on that. The city will and the chamber will both have information, as will SAMCETA. So moving on to the next slide. So there are corporate support and financial assistance from some of our large corporate partners. And what we're doing here is showing logos. Some are doing financial assistance, some are doing technical assistance, some are doing product assistance. So there's a lot out there. Again, the city of South San Francisco and the chamber have this information. SAMCETA has it, but there are a lot of resources for businesses looking for information. And then moving on to the next slide. So this is important, the Technical Assistance Volunteer Network. 1,700 volunteers have signed up through San Mateo County, and they're doing an analysis of that. If there's professional service volunteers that could assist our small businesses with navigating this wealth of information, as well as the application processes for folks to apply. So we're going to be doing a survey monkey to city managers and economic and community development staff saying, what are you hearing from your businesses and what type of technical assistance do you need? We're also reaching out to chamber and stakeholder members to, again, build a platform whereby folks can get the volunteer technical assistance to navigate all the different financial assistance, grant making, just all the resources that are out there, because we know this is overwhelming to small business. And I think that might be the last slide. I think if we, yes. So thank you very much for having me, Mayor Garbarino, Liza with the Chamber, Liza Normandy, and City Manager Futrell. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Roseanne. We appreciate you and everything that you and your staff are doing to help out not only our city, but the county as well. Our next speaker that we're going to move over to is our city manager, Mike Futrell. Mike, are you there?
I am. Thank you, Leslie. And thank you, Roseanne. Wow, what a lot of great information. A reminder, we are recording this, so you can go back later and pull it up on our website and pull that. Just terrific efforts around the county to help our business, as well as in the city of South San Francisco. We formed a business recovery team early, been working with the chamber and others to bring the resources to bear to help you succeed. One thing I'd like to briefly discuss is a council action from last week, which was a moratorium on small business evictions. So making payroll, making rents, very difficult right now. So last week, our city council passed an emergency ordinance providing a moratorium on small business evictions. So that's effective from April the 8th through May the 31st. You should know the definition of a small business is one that's having no more than 25 million in annual revenues. And you have to give notice to your landlord that you have been COVID-19 affected, and that will give you some protection from eviction. Now, know at the end of the day, you still owe the money, still owe the rent, so work with your landlord. But this hopefully will give you the breathing room you need to access those resources which Roseanne mentioned, access those resources which our SBA rep will talk about in a moment, and access some of the resources the city is bringing to bear. So please know we're on your side. We have a lot of information on the website, ssf.net. There's a section just for businesses where we try to pull all this overwhelming information you're receiving from lots of different sources, distill it down, and put it in an easy to find and easy to understand resource page. So ssf.net. I know we've got a couple of other speakers, including a member of our business recovery team from the city. So I'm going to let them speak. But thank you again for being in South San Francisco. We are the industrial city. We love our businesses, and we will fight for you. So Leslie, thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. And as you mentioned, we do have Ernesto Lucero, and he is with our city's Economic and Community Development Department. And Ernesto has been, as you mentioned, with this business recovery team since the beginning, and he has a lot of information to provide you also. I'll turn it over to Ernesto.
Great. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Leslie. Ernesto Lucero with the Economic Development Department. I just wanted to give a brief overview of some additional resources. A lot of these are on our website, but just want to call them out as they're new and important. One is, if you can go to the next slide, essential versus non-essential. We're still getting a lot of questions and inquiries from the business community. So as the county health order that was revised on March 31st, now currently goes until May 3rd. So if you refer to our website and the order, you'll look at section 13F, F as in Frank, And that really describes which businesses are essential, which ones are not essential during this period. One additional mandate that was added to the revised order is that basically any essential business that continues to operate, the county is now requesting a social distance protocol template to be displayed somewhere in the business. So you can find that template on our website. We have it in English, Spanish, Mandarin, Vietnamese, and it's all fillable as a PDF, so it's super easy to fill it out. We've also heard from a lot of businesses that there's a need for some sort of information related to best practices for social distancing. So our partners at the Bay Area Urban Manufacturing Initiative have created just a short list of social distancing best practices, and that you can also find on our website. And then just one other thing to mention about the essential versus non-essential, the county's developed a really good Q&A website, which is also linked as well. That kind of lists all the different questions that have been coming through in the past 4 weeks. So that's a really good resource to refer to. And then just also wanted to mention the website, like many people have said, this is all the up-to-date information with all the different resources. We have recorded webinars on there, a lot of tax information. Of course, SAMCITA's business resource portals on there, SBA programs, as well as the business surveys. So feel free to go on there. And it's a lot of information, but a lot of good information. So we try to keep that up to date as much as possible. The third thing I just wanted to mention is the COVID-19 loans and grant programs. Just a couple key ones I wanted to mention. One loan is the San Mateo County Credit Union. They have a work reduction loan program for working capital. This is 6.99% for a 12-month term. These loans equal to about 2 weeks' salary. So it's just a quick way to get some funds available, as well as the PayPal business loan program. We have this online as well, but their program is between $5,000 and $500,000 for working capital as well, and they can get a really quick approval in as short as 48 hours. Just a couple other grants that I wanted to mention. Salesforce is issued a small business grant. These are $10,000 grants for small businesses throughout the country. The application is not yet live, but you can go to their website, salesforce.com, and just sign up to get alerted when that goes live. I think they're going live in the next week or a couple days or something. And then the other one, Facebook. Facebook has announced a business grant program. They've allocated $15 million specifically for Bay Area small businesses. So same process, businesses can go to their website, which is facebook.com/grants for business. And you can check your availability or eligibility and the application process. So this is all on our website as well. And then just the last thing I wanted to mention, we have a proposed CDBG funding program that's coming online hopefully soon. CDBG stands for Community Development Block Grant. City staffs will be taking an item to City Council next Wednesday, April 22nd, and the Council will be considering reallocation of some of these Community Development Block Grant funds for a new small business relief fund. So these are federal funds that come from the Housing and Urban Development Department. And through the CARES Act, cities are now able to use a lot more of these CDBG funds to help businesses. So in total, we're looking at a possibility of $650,000 in this fiscal year and next fiscal year. So about $400,000 that we can spend on this program up until June 30th of this year. And then after July 1st, another $250,000. So as soon as this goes to council and the council considers it, in addition, we're kind of quickly developing a program to anticipate, issuing this program and producing a relevant program for our business community. The only two requirements that would be intact, because these are federal funds, is that the funds would have to start out as a loan, which is a little bit different from the San Mateo County Strong program. But the business, if they can prove that they retain at least 1 or 2 low-income jobs, then the loan can actually convert to a grant. So it's a pretty good job retention opportunity. So we're just trying to mirror as close as possible, the application process from the San Mateo County Strong program that was mentioned just a minute ago. And so with the city council meeting next week, we hope to get this rolling as soon as possible within the next couple weeks. And that concludes my comments.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ernesto. And our last speaker for tonight is Noah Broad, and he is with the Small Business Administration. And we're going to pull up his series of slides for you. And Noah, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Noah Broad. I work out of the San Francisco District Office of the U.S. Small Business Administration. I'm going to talk a little bit about how our agency has, about some of the programs that our agency has for business owners to take advantage of, as well as give updates, which some of the folks on the phone may already know about. But just to sort of level set, because not everybody is, reading, the front pages of particular newspapers that may be covering our programs. I'll go through the programs really quickly and just talk about them a little bit and give updates on where they are as of today. So let's go to the next slide. So before and actually maybe you have the old presentation, Ernesto. I timestamp all of my presentations nowadays. So that was the presentation from 3 days ago. So this one may be very different from the one that I.
Sure. If Howard, if you can give Noah presenting rights, that should help.
Yeah, and I can just share straight from my screen. I don't want to share stuff that's out of date, and stuff that is from 3 days ago. Boy, it's out of date now.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. And I'll just pull it up here. It's got it. Good meeting. There it is. Okay, folks can see my presentation, right?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, that's more like it as of today. So yeah, every morning, we get updates on where our programs are, and but that is also caveats. I also make sure that I'm caveating anything that I'm. Okay. It's a good meeting. It's a little bit new to me. There it is. I caveat anything I'm saying because at the moment, things are changing so rapidly that I really encourage business owners to kind of go back to the well multiple times, refresh what they know about these programs frequently, because the CARES Act, which enabled the programs, was signed about 2 weeks ago, and most of the policy making that normally precedes a program being launched is being done at the same time that the program has launched. And so the programs really do change on a daily basis at the moment. So the big update before I even dive into the main two programs is as of this morning, SBA is not able to issue new loan approvals for either our economic injury disaster lending programs or the Paycheck Protection Program. I will talk about those programs, and I'll say what they are because there is, so right now we're not able to issue new loan approvals, and that's because the funding limit for the initial CARES Act was reached as of last night for both of those programs, which means that the programs have to go back to Congress for authorization of additional funding before they reopen and start to take new applications. So that's the moment that we're in right now, where the continued acceptance of new applications depends on legislative action by Congress. That doesn't mean the programs are gone, doesn't mean they're not running anymore. It means that the continued operation of them depends on a decision from Congress. So that's the big update from the morning. And I'll talk about what those programs are, but also the SBA since about the middle of last month has had a number of programs that we've made available to business owners, not just the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. We also instituted and rolled out a number of debt relief and forgiveness programs. So if you're a business owner and you had received a disaster loan from our agency for a different disaster, whether it was a fire or a flood or earthquake or another disaster in the past, we automatically deferred any payment on those disaster loans going out to the end of December of this year. We also instructed all of our lenders who make normal business loans under our SBA lending programs to defer payments for those borrowers. So if you had an SBA loan, whether it was a microloan or an SBA 7A loan or an SBA 504 loan, those payments can be deferred up to 6 months, and that's a conversation that a borrower would have to have with the lender that they got that loan from. Additionally, with the CARES Act, we rolled out a SBA debt relief program, which the way that program works is that SBA is going to be paying the principal and interest payments of the regular normal SBA business loans for the next 6 months. So 7A loans, 504 loans, and microloans, our agency is paying the interest and debt payments, the monthly payments on those loans for the next 6 months. So those are actually really significant programs that are still active, and they're still rolling out, and they're still expanding. And if you're an existing SBA borrower, really encourage you to talk with your lender to take advantage of those programs. For Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, I'll go over those briefly with the caveat of that first slide that I mentioned. On the other additional support, some of the other presenters have been talking about the local foundations and local city actions and non-SBA programs that business owners should take advantage of. That is absolutely some of the advice that we're giving with business owners to kind of have their antennas up, their radars on, looking at other programs at the local, at the foundation level, and at the state level as well for business assistance. I can talk about the SBA programs, but I'm not as well versed about everything that's happening at the local city level or the county level or what the state of California is doing. I'm familiar with them, but and to the sense that I know that there are a number of programs from other partners that are launching on a daily basis and expanding as well. And I'd encourage business owners to take advantage of all those. For navigating a lot of the resources, not just like applications with organizations or with government agencies, but also strategy advice for managing emergency cash flow, for having conversations about managing workforce reductions or workforce retention strategies. We, as an agency, have made additional funding available to a nonprofit network called the Small Business Development Center Network. So there's one of these nonprofits in every single county in California, and we've made additional funding available to this network for disaster response efforts for this situation. And they've launched a hotline that individuals can go to and a new website, asksbdc.com. They've been actively connecting folks to lenders and to other programs, not just the SBA programs, and they can have those strategy discussions with business owners. So I really encourage folks to take advantage of those resources. The Small Business Development Center advice comes at no cost to business owners as well. So quickly, I'll mention the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, what it is for folks that may not know. It is a low interest loan for pretty much any business need for a business owner with a max loan size of up to $2 million. That can be used for pretty much any working business need. It's directly provided by the SBA. So prior to this morning, when business owners could go to or nonprofits, business owners or nonprofits could apply for this. You could go to the SBA.gov website and put in an application directly at SBA. Everyone has the same application. It all goes through the same process on SBA's side. And the CARES Act enabled the SBA to also make an up to $10,000 advance that does not have to be paid back as part of that application. So, like I said in the first slide, as of this morning, because of appropriations, new applications are on hold for this program, but depending on appropriations, it may reopen here. So for those updates, funding is currently being paused on that. If you already have an application in, I mentioned that advance is up to $10,000. So the size of that advance is determined by the number of employees that a business entered when they filled out the application. So it's $1,000 per employee up to a maximum of $10,000. That's what determines how large the advance is. If you are a sole proprietor and you filled out the application, the Office of Disaster Assistance counts the applicant as one. For updates on where your application is, if you've already put one in, unfortunately, our local district office doesn't have the ability to pull up one specific application. The SBA Disaster Office itself is the only source for looking up a status or finding updates on a specific economic injury disaster loan application. The timeline question, comes a lot for the advances. When the advance program launched, it launched with the expectation of the advances being funded within 3 days, and that expectation was not met. Advances have been going out and they're being processed very quickly. Spoken with a lot of business owners, especially this week, that have been receiving their advances. And from my conversations with business owners, the average has been closer to about 10 business days for advance processing. For the loan application, so that first application that would have been put in at SBA.gov is also the application for the loan up to $2 million. And that loan processing time, that is going to take longer than that 10-day period. And I haven't gotten a quote from our Office of Disaster Assistance on the funding timelines for those, but I have spoken to folks that have already gone through and been processed on it. So some applications are being processed for the loan part of the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. For the Paycheck Protection Program, that program is also a loan, but it's very different from the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which you would go to SBA.gov, our agency would issue it. The Paycheck Protection Program is a loan that is issued by a lender, by a commercial lender or credit union who is participating in the program. And the lenders who are implementing the program have the discretion to implement the program in a more narrow and restrictive way than the program allows for. So SBA, one of the big things that came out with this program is that many lenders who had a lot of demand for the program in the very beginning limited the availability of the program to their existing clients. And that was a decision that was made at the discretion of the individual lenders. With individuals who are applying for the Paycheck Protection Program, it is difficult to say, like, here is what the standard process looks like, because it's implemented by every lender in a different way, and they have the discretion to implement it in their own catered way. So every single lender is going to have a different experience for a borrower. The way the program works is that it is a loan to a business owner to pay up to 8 weeks of payroll costs, including benefits. And payroll costs is defined pretty broadly. If a business owner uses those loan proceeds to pay for any of those pay for payroll expenses, if they have to use up to 75% of the loan towards those payroll expenses. And if they do that, the loan will be forgiven. And up to 25% of those costs can be for other category, mortgage, interest, utilities, rent costs, but really the focus of this program is on payroll expenses. The program also allows for expenses already incurred by employers who may have been incurring expenses as a result of the situation going back to February 15th. So business owners can reimburse for expenses that may have already been incurred going back to that date. The golden rule with the Paycheck Protection Program, though, is that it is driven by the lender that you're working with. So your mileage may vary. It depends. Is the structure of this program, because the individual lender is the implementer of the program, and every lender chooses their strategy and their approach to implementing the Paycheck Protection Program. Funding timelines on that program have been it's that same answer. It depends on your lender, and it depends on their infrastructure and on the speed with which they're willing to disperse those funds. So some lenders I've spoken with are getting funds out within 24 hours, and others are waiting for, they don't want to disperse funds until they get a specific answer from SBA on a policy point, and so they're not dispersing funds yet. And so that really depends on a funder's or on a lender's decision about how they want to choose to approach this program. Sole proprietors can apply for this program, so could folks under the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and continued guidance has come out of the Treasury website, who are the guiding agency for the Paycheck Protection Program. The program did stop taking new applications as of this morning. Many individuals had put in applications with their banks. If they had gotten an approval from their bank, that means that funding has been reserved for that application. So long as you have an SBA loan number, that means that there is funding budgeted towards your loan. So if you haven't gotten confirmation from a lender about approval, I still do encourage business owners to go back to their lender and see where they are, because I have spoken with some business owners and some lenders who may have rushed to get an application approved on SBA side and not communicated that back to the borrower. So I do encourage folks to check with the lenders and really make sure whether or not they've gotten an SBA loan number, or whether they were approved or not as of this morning. But if you did get a loan number, an SBA loan number assigned to your application, that means there's funding reserved for you. If you don't meet the forgiveness portion of that loan, it is a loan, so it has terms. So it can be up to $10 million in size. It's a 1% annual interest rate with a 2-year term, and you don't have to make the first payment for at least until 6 months have passed. We don't take collateral on it. There's no personal guarantee from a borrower required, and this is really important. No borrower lender fees are payable to SBA from the borrower. So if you're working especially right now because applications have stopped being taken. And I've had a number of borrowers come to me and ask me, somebody contacted me and said, if I pay $1,000 or if I pay some fee, they'll submit and get my application approved. And if you encounter that, I would ask that you report that to the San Francisco District Office. We're collecting those and sharing those with our District Council, with our Office of Inspector General as well, because no fees should be collected from borrowers for submitting an application for this program, and that's really clear. And if you encounter that, please send that to our office and don't work with that individual or that organization. So that's the kind of short updates about where the SBA is with the programs that we have for supporting business owners as of this morning.
Okay, thank you, Noah. We appreciate it. We're going to keep you on because we do have a couple questions.
Absolutely.
We did receive a few questions ahead of time that I'll read, and I'm sure that many of you on the phone might or on your computers might have questions. Just a reminder, you submit your question through the chat function on the computer, or you can email biz resources at ssf.net, and we'll get your question that way. So while you guys are kind of submitting, if you do have questions right now, please feel free to do so now. I will go into a couple of the questions we did receive ahead of time and then answer any more that you come through. And so Noah, just while you're talking about the PPP and the economic injury disaster loan, you did talk a little bit about what the difference was, but I don't know if you can explain it in terms of helping people know which one is better for them.
Right. So that's really it's a situation by, it depends on the business. And actually, thanks for that question, because these programs aren't mutually exclusive. You can apply for and receive both. Well, you could apply for, if you applied for both of those programs and you're approved for both those programs, you can take the funds from both programs and use them. They have different purposes. One has a strong focus on payroll, and so if you're an employer, you might see more benefit from that program, and the other has a focus on business working capital needs. So if you have inventory costs or accounts payables due and rent costs and mortgage costs, and that's what you're really focused around, you might be more attracted to the economic injury disaster loan. So they really do meet different needs, and they'll meet some business owners' needs more. That one program will meet one business owner's need more than another, perhaps. But both of them can also be accepted and used.
Okay, and I know you mentioned that right now the funds really have been exhausted for the PPP as well as EIDL. We're not sure if there will be anything in the future, but assuming there is, a question came in wondering if will the ones who were able to turn in their application be exempt from any further disbursements? And I'm not sure if you know the answer to that or not, Noah.
So I guess the question is, if their application was already submitted, are they still in the pipeline, is maybe what that question is referring to. And the answer is yes. So if you submitted an application to SBA for our economic injury disaster loan, the answer is absolutely yes. Those applications are being processed, and and disbursements are being made to business owners as I speak. The PPP loans, if you had submitted an application and not yet received an approval from your lender, then the answer is no, at least not until additional funding is appropriated. If you had gotten an approval and that approval had and the lender has an SBA loan number that they've gotten for you for that approval, then the answer is yes. That lender could disperse funds to you as soon as they are comfortable doing it, really, because with the PPP program, the lender makes the loan using their own funds. They don't have to wait for SBA to do really anything. It's on the lender's side how quickly they decide to move for the Paycheck Protection Program.
Okay, great. And, you know, speaking of the PPP and EIDL, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, but a question is, my lender is non-responsive. Any advice to them?
Yeah. I mean, it depends. Yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer to that because it depends on your lender. You know, some lenders still have, you know, I know we're not encouraging everybody to shelter in place, but some lenders still have branches open. And I've talked with business owners that have done that. Then depending on your lender, they might have a point of contact that's more responsive than another. But unfortunately, I don't have a great answer to that because it depends on your lender, and some lenders are much more responsive than others.
Yeah, no, I know that's a kind of a tough question. Ernesto, I'm going to call on you for this next question, and that is, you know, with folks that either were experiencing delays with PPP or EIDL, or unfortunately weren't able to get their application in, are there non-federal programs that one could try instead?
Yeah, so the state has come up with a lot of great programs to kind of act as a bridge loan until, you know, anticipating that businesses are applying for these federal funds. So some bridge loan funding that would kind of assist in the interim. Two that I'll mention are the one that came out last week or the week before is the state sales tax bridge loan. So this is free deferral of all state sales and use tax up to $50,000. So businesses with less than $5 million in taxable assets can use this. So a lot of this information is on our website as well. I'll keep saying that. And the other one is the California Small Business Loan Guarantee Program. This is through the state's iBank, the infrastructure bank. They've allocated about $50 million in state funding for microloans as well. So if you want to check those out.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ernesto. And Roseanne, I'm going to turn this over to you for a question. And it's just a little bit more information on, you touched on this, but let's repeat this. Just how do people apply for San Mateo Strong Fund? And people are wondering, do I have to be a member of San Mateo Credit Union?
No, you do not have to be a member of the San Mateo Credit Union. And I want folks to know that they've been an incredible partner. They are not charging any processing fees or anything. This is their way to give back to the San Mateo County community. So again, the process, the legal agreement between the San Mateo Credit Union and the County of San Mateo for small business assistance grants will go for approval, which we expect before the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, April 21st. Immediately following that, there will be an intensive communication campaign to all of our cities, all of the 21 jurisdictions. And we are asking that the cities and the chambers of commerce and every other place that you can communicate the application process, we want you to do that. So it'll outline the criteria, it'll outline the documents that you need, so everyone can get ready for an online application process that'll begin on Monday, April 27th. And again, this is contingent on the Board of Supervisors approving the entire process, including the criteria, which has been already seen by the subcommittee of the Board of Supervisors. So we really feel confident that we've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's so that we can deploy the funds as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. And as long as I've got you, kind of switching a little bit of directions, but Another question coming through about, I'm having trouble applying for unemployment. Any advice?
Well, for one, we've been working with our state legislative delegation. So Assembly members Berman and Mullen and state senators Wiener and Hill to really unravel kind of that in unemployment insurance. What has happened in recent days is they are going to a 7-day-a-week, I believe it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It might be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. processing. So for folks to call in, for the claims to be processed. And if you go to edd.ca.gov/claims, there is really detailed information about how to file a new claim, how to reopen a claim, what's my benefit, paid family leave. They are really trying to make this very robust at edd.ca.gov to help people, because there's been a lot of log jams with that.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Ernesto, I'm going to ask you this question. Is it true that companies like Salesforce, PayPal, Intuit, and Stripe are now loaning to small businesses?
Sure. So I mentioned a couple of the grant programs earlier in the presentation, specifically Salesforce and Facebook. I think due to the influx of everybody applying for the PPP money, we did hear that some of the big fintech giants like PayPal, Intuit, and Stripe are getting approval from the Small Business Administration to process those loans. So I think currently there's a delay, but as additional funding gets reallocated through the SBA, we'll see those loans keep taking shape again through the PPP program.
Yeah, I'll just add that earlier this week, some of the larger online non-bank lenders like PayPal and Square and Stripe they received authorization to participate in that program. So for the first part of this week, I think Monday through Thursday, they were starting to issue loans directly, actually.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm going to go over to our chat function where we did get a question. This is from Steve, and he says, we are a partnership and have signed loan docs for the PPP. Can we pay our own salaries or draw based on our last year returns?
Yeah, so the answer is yes, with some caveats. On the Treasury, if you go to treasury.gov/cares, or also if you email our office, I can kind of give you the calculation that's used for partnerships and self-employed individuals, because there is a cap on how much a self-employed individual can draw for the payroll portion of it. But the short answer to that is yes, and the long answer to that, for the sake of all the other listeners, is you should give our office a call, or go to the treasury.gov website, where they have kind of the detailed guidance for independent contractors and self-employed individuals and partnerships.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm going to give it about 5 more. I know we're at 6 o'clock, but I'm going to still give us, I know we've been talking a lot, and so I do want to give people an opportunity to send in questions, again, through the chat feature or through the email biz resources@ssf.net. We'll go a little bit longer here just to kind of give you guys an opportunity to ask me more questions. I will bring up a couple more questions, and this is going to be directed at Noah, and a lot of these are PPP, but you had mentioned, the cap, and speaking of that, how does the PPP's $10 million cap and affiliation rules work for hotels and restaurants?
All right, you got all the complicated questions today. So this is where it really comes down to who your lender is, because I can tell you what the guidelines for the program are, but not all the lenders. Some of the lenders are they want to choose to look at the simplest implementation of the program, not the more complicated ones. So the same with the previous question. On the Treasury website, there's a detailed guide about how affiliation is determined. It's this fairly complicated 4-part test that looks at a number of factors for a business. And then there's also an exception under the CARES Act for any business that is in NICS code 72, which is bars, restaurants. I think hotels fall under that as well. That accepts most of those particular industries from the affiliation rules. So that's kind of the guidance level, like when you get into the rulemaking portion of the Paycheck Protection Program. But at the end of the day, you are working with the individual lender who's choosing to implement the program and may choose to implement the program in a more streamlined fashion. And so I've worked with some restaurants and gone through with them on this rule, but the lender that they were particularly working with didn't want to get into the weeds on the particular rules because they had such a high demand for the program. So it's one of those yes but answers.
Okay, appreciate that. I don't see any more questions on the chat feature. I do have 2 more questions on the PPP for you, Noah. And one is do PPP loans cover paid sick leave?
So you've got great questions, Say. For paid sick leave, so I think that's another one of those it depends, because it depends if the sick leave is related to coronavirus, because there were other leave provisions that were included in the CARES Act that provide funding for sick leave. But if it's not that, then yes. PPP loans cover payroll costs, including costs for employee vacation, parental, family, medical, and sick leave. So with the one exception of sick leave for an individual that may be sick as a result of having contracted coronavirus. Because there's a sick leave refundable credit that's available for that.
Okay, great. And then the last question I have is how does PPP account for seasonal businesses that may have a larger payroll in the spring and summer?
Yeah, so that comes down to the lender and how a lender wants to look at payroll expenses. So the PPP has, I think, 3 or 4 different time periods that a lender may choose to ask for payroll expenses from. One of which is specifically for seasonal businesses. So so for seasonal businesses, you can use average monthly payroll for I think the period between February 15th, February 15th or March 1st and March 1st, 2019 and June 30th, 2019. But at the end of the day, it is a conversation with your lender.
Okay, great, thanks. And I know, Ernesto, you had wanted to say additional thing for PPP lenders.
Yeah, so just from what we're hearing from the business community, a lot of businesses were having trouble getting PPP financing from their normal lender, which may be a larger lender. So what we found is, try a different lender, try a credit union. Do you have any other relationships with other banks? And kind of diversify your approach to applying for those funds. So we've had some success with that approach. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, great, thank you, Ernesto. So I don't see any questions on our chat feature. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up this town hall. First, I just kind of wanted to remind you of a few things. Everything that we discussed tonight, including We'll have the slides that were given if you didn't have it up on your computer and you were just listening through the phone. We'll have all, because there were a lot of great information on the slides from Roseanne and from Noah and from the city and from the chamber. So we will put that up on our website. And again, that is ssf.net, and you can see a whole coronavirus section there. Within the coronavirus section, there's a business recovery area. So you can go to the website. And then we mentioned, city staff are always available by phone and email to assist you. And I think I've said this website or this email quite a bit tonight, but I'll say it one last time, and that's biz resources at ssf.net. And then finally, we're going to have another virtual town hall for local businesses in the near future. So we don't have a specific date yet, but we will obviously keep you all in the loop as to when we have this, and hopefully we'll continue to have more information and become, just continue to be that resource for you. So before we end it off and sign off for the night, I'd just like to turn it over back again to Liza Normandy from the Chamber of Commerce for any parting thoughts, and then we'll have our mayor end the town hall. Liza. And Liza, you may be mute. You there, Liza? If not, I'm not sure if you're on mute or not. I'll tell you what, we'll hold on you if you have any last minute thoughts, and I'll turn it over to Rich for any last minute, our mayor, Rich Garbarino, for parting thoughts.
You can hear me now, Leslie?
Oh, perfect. Yes, now we can hear you.
All right. Having trouble with the mute, microphone button. Thank you for the opportunity for the parting words. And on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, we just wanted to say thank you to your businesses and the city and staff for assisting with the town hall. The Chamber is in constant communications with the city weekly, as well as Roseanne with SAMCETA and our Chamber partners in the county. And as Leslie mentioned, there will be a future town hall. And if you like these, let us know if there's a topic that you want us to highlight on. Just send us an email and we'll make sure we assist you, because we want to make sure your business remains here in South San Francisco and that we are able to assist you to ensure that your doors to your business remain open and are ready to be open when the order is lifted. So if there's anything that we can assist you with on the chamber side, please give me a call. I'm available 24/7 most of the time, and I will do my best to get you any answers to your questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Liza. We appreciate that. And then our mayor, Rich Garbarino, will have you just kind of end it.
Thank you, Leslie. And thank you again to Liza Normandy of the Chamber, Roseanne Faust of SAMCETA, our city manager, Mike Dutrell, and Noah Brode of the SBA. And I also want to thank the city's economic development staff and all of you for the extraordinary efforts that you're all doing to keep our businesses afloat during these very difficult times. Lastly, I want to thank all of you for making tonight, for making this a productive time in share information. So please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. And have a good night and stay well, please. Thank you and good night.